welcome back to the show where we are joined by our resident chef, Chef Domi, and our guest chef, Chef Chart. Now, Chef, we're looking forward to today. It's all about the rough puff pastry.
Well, it is, but there are so many other types of pastries as well. It's not just about a rough puff, which is just saying that you quickly sort of rustle up. So, have you got any idea what other pastries are out there at all?
I mean, Chef, before we get into all of that, I just want to open up South Africa's world to all things pies. Now, pies can be made into so many different shapes and sizes with the different fillings. But did you know that there are also so many different pastry doughs used to make a pie? So thanks to Chef Chart, today we will be showing you fairly simple recipes. Now, Chef, again, I've never understood this. I love myself a good pastry. Everyone knows it about me. I'm a carb kind of girl.
A carb girl.
However...
No, carb guy. Let's get that right.
You know, in Zulu, funny enough, we call this umkaba.
Umkaba, okay.
So tell us about these different pastries.
Well, again, pastries all vary for what you want to do and their sort of purposes. So we're going to make a rough puff, but more importantly, let's go back to a few basics. We've got a puff pastry. Now, puff pastry, I think you make a ball of dough, and then you're going to layer it with butter. And dough, butter, dough, butter, dough, butter, dough, butter, dough, butter. So that's what it is. So when it actually bakes, the butter melts and creates an air layer between the actual dough itself, and you get all these wonderful layers. So that's very typical of puff pastry. It's basically 1 million layers.
Okay,
all right,
so that's what you
want. Oh, very decadent, very rich, buttery. And again, you know, we can make a quick version, which we're going to a little bit later on, which you're going to get a little bit of layering, you're going to get a little bit of lightness, but not like what you get, you know, and you can get it pre-made, or you can, you know, make your own. But it's that dough, butter, dough, butter, dough, butter that depicts puff pastry.
Okay, let's test Chef Domi. Domi, I know you're going to know this. What's this?
Some people call it phyllo, some people call it phyllo, but yes, it's that crumply one. It's that, I love it. I think it works so perfectly with any type of recipe that you'd make. If you'd normally use puff pastry, you can still replace it.
Chef, tell us about it.
So phyllo pastry is basically just this very, very thin sheet of dough of which you then layer yourself. So like the puff pastry, the butter's already incorporated.
Yeah.
The phyllo isn't. So generally when you use phyllos, you put a sheet down, you brush lots of butter on it, lather it in butter, then another layer on top, and then more butter, and then another layer on top, and you build it up. Or, as Tumi was saying earlier on, you can actually scrunch it. It's beautiful to take and sort of scrunch up, and you can make like little rosettes and little flowers and, you know, all sorts of weird, wonderful, crinkly, organic kind of shapes with. What's really important out there is the phyllo pastry needs to stay covered because it dries very quickly. It's like it's paper thin. So remember just to keep that always covered when you work in the kitchen. It's a little damp cloth, and you take layer by layer by layer. And then the last thing we've got is a short crust pastry. Basically, that is just a dough. All right, so it's a dough brought together that you can use for all sorts of pies, quiches, tarts.
I love it, and mostly in my sweeter dishes, sweeter pies. I enjoy it there because it's so decadent as well in itself. So I like the crumbliness of it.
Absolutely.
Chef, let's get our hands on
right,
this.
so let's get
I've
on to
already rolled up my sleeve, South Africa, and so should you too.
Absolutely. So this is a rough puff pastry. So what you got is some sifted flour, and to that, a little bit of salt added into there. So take some salt, just some table salt in there, or if you've got like, you know, rock salt or, you know, we all got those fancy sea salt flakes, just break them down completely. That's really important. That brings flavor. Let me tell you, cakes, breads, or anything of the sort without salt tastes revolting. True. It is so important. Salt is to draw out flavor, not from the salty perspective which you're all told, you know, be warned with. So anyway, that goes into there. And then blocks of cold butter.
It has to be cold.
It has to be cold. And the next thing is, remember if you are hot-handed or cold-handed. What are you?
Hot-handed.
Hot-handed. Cold heart like me.
Yes.
What are you to me? Hot hands or cold hands?
It depends on the
it depends on them.
I'm actually joking. It's the exact same for me. It depends. I mean, I'd like
oh,
to
here
think
we
of
go, you know.
a warm heart, Chef.
No, I'm joking. Anyway, if you know you're a hot hand like me, you got to work with this quickly. So for those of you who suffer with hot hands, work things a lot quicker. So what we want to do is create basically breadcrumbs. So take in your fingers and rub into the butter, just squashing the butter bit by bit. And then as you go up, so you can start to bring it together. And what you'll see is these sort of quite a coarse texture. I want to see flakes of butter just now. So work that in as you go, just pressing it gently there. And then what you can do if you want to go speed up the process is in your hands, with the other hand on top, and just rub very gently. Just basically smearing that butter.
Oh, there
all
are
right.
the flakes.
You see there? Yeah. Okay, so just keep working those globules of butter. So again, don't make your butter too hard. So you don't really want it out the fridge straight away because it might be a bit too firm and too hard. If you can and you want to, you've got a food processor pop it into there. Very lightly pulse it as well. So if you don't want to get your hands dirty, you could also do that as an option. And as you can see, it starts coming together bit by bit. And you can see a coarse breadcrumb texture. How are you doing there? Oh,
I think I need to
good.
speed up, though. I need to speed up the process.
No, you're doing well.
Chef, I can also even see that the color of the flour has already changed as well. It's a nice little yellow amber color here.
Absolutely.
So are you going for completely mixed, or you still want to maintain
No,
the
you
crumbs?
still want to maintain texture. So where I am about now, so you can start to see the butter coming through, looking good there. You're both looking good there. So you've got this coarse breadcrumb. You can feel bits of butter.
Yeah.
So I still remember I was talking about puff pastry. Puff pastry is about dough, butter. So mine's just going to be all incorporated into one as opposed to distinct layers. But we're going to come to rolling that there. Anyway, let's create a well in the center of our flour and then take in some cold water and pop in some cold water into there. Now, not all of the water, because remember, flours react very differently. If you're cooking in Europe, if you're cooking here in South Africa, can vary, depending on the time of year.
Yeah.
You know, we're in winter right now, so actually our flour is technically a little bit wetter.
Okay.
So you actually want to sometimes reduce the amount of liquid. You can always add in more. You don't really want to start adding in more dry ingredients because that's going to change. All right, then take in one hand, rub all that off.
It's getting serious.
Oh, 2 fingers, just to start with, so you don't get too sticky, and just start working that
Chef, I'm
together.
so glad that you said you have to start with 2 fingers, because a lot of the time on the show, I mean, Dumi, you know, we are no stranger to creating doughs. We love to create different types of pastries, breads, and we also love this whole well kind of idea here to incorporate the different ingredients. But by the end of the segment, Dumi, tell me if I'm wrong. My hands are covered with dough, and it's almost difficult to even maneuver. But this is an easy way.
Well, that's easy. I mean, that should technically be clean, but I mean, I love getting in there and just, you know, working your hand. But at least now, if the phone rings, you can go and pick it up, yeah? If you've got to pick up a child, you can pick up your child, whatever you need to do. There's one hand always available. So just keep working that into a lovely dough ball at the end of the day. Now, don't be tempted out there to go and keep adding more water and adding more water. You know, be a little bit patient and keep working that together. Scrape down your fingers as well. And then just bringing all that looseness back in there. Now you can start to get to a point of where you can put your whole hand in and it's not so sticky. All right? And it starts forming a ball. Okay, that is what you're wanting to achieve.
Okay. All right, Chef, most times people worry about you overworking. Is this a kind of recipe that you don't worry about, you know, overworking?
Okay, so you want to work it to a point, but you don't want to overwork it because, you know, the moment you work in flour, you're developing what we call the glutens. That's what makes it tough and hard. So be careful not to overwork it. It's not like going to the extent of where it is like bread, where you really want to develop the gluten. And it's not quite like a cake of where you don't want to develop nothing at all.
Yeah.
You do want some structure and some body. But we're going to be resting the pastry, so I'm not too worried about how much gluten I develop or not. Okay. All right, that should all come together. Okay. Oh, you got very hot hands, girl. Oh, my goodness.
I guess you got your answer, Chef.
Oh, there we go. All right, so that's what you should end up with, a lovely little ball like that. And you can see, look how much water is, I've kept behind there.
Oh, I
the
think
same
I
thing.
must have added a little bit too much water, so then I could go in with flour.
What I love about live TV is there's always someone that does it right and one that goes, don't do this at home, but learn from it. Because let me tell you, can I tell you, that is one of the best things I've ever done in life, is learnt from my mistakes. I put a little bit of flour just to help you bring that in together.
Okay.
So once that's done,
lesson learned.
Then let's move everything.
Oh, there we go,
side.
Chef. Look, already it's coming off my fingers.
You know, little TLC added along the way to somebody is all good. Now, when you start looking at this dough itself, you can actually still see the flakes of butter inside, correct? You can see all of that there. Taking a little bit of flour, dust the surface of your kitchen counter, pop that on top, a little bit on top, and then taking your rolling pin. And then what you want to do is start rolling that out into a big, long, yellow tongue. All right, so basically like that, a little bit more this way. Now, at this stage is the only time you can actually start pushing it left to right.
Okay.
Okay, because I'm going to start creating some, a bookfold just now, and the layers are very important. So about sort of 20 centimeters by 40 centimeters is what you
I was actually going
need
to
do.
cheat and just bring this one
Oh,
out here
really?
that I
Oh,
did
no,
a
no,
little
no,
bit.
no, no,
Please don't do me, because honestly, I have given up with my hot hands, honey. Let me tell you something. So, Dumi, at the end, just to round off this very simple dough recipe, how did you get it there?
Oh, so basically, like Chef said, we roll it out, and you mentioned something about making it into folds, Chef. So as you keep rolling it out, it gets longer. And
Correct.
you just fold it into each other, basically into the center, and just roll it out again and keep folding.
Absolutely. So what you want to do is what we call a book fold. So once you've rolled it onto a big yellow tongue, you're going to turn it right 90 degrees, and you're going to do a book fold, which is in 3. 1, 2, and you've got your third in there. And then what you need to do is roll that. Even now, it's so lovely and soft, you could actually keep doing that. A little bit more flour there because it's sticky. You can still see the lovely flakes of butter. Can I steal yours?
Please do.
There we go.
Chef, as you're
Okay.
doing that, I mean, we've made our pie dough, but pie is not complete without a filling. And luckily, we have the perfect recipe to add. So, Dumi, what are we going to be adding to this?
Well, Palsa, we're going to be making a milk tart at the very end of the show. But after this, we're going to get stuck into a delicious Greek lamb pastry pie dish. It is so delectable and so delicious. You definitely want to stay tuned for that.